we go. Good luck.
Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to our second Frontline Worker webinar this year. We've got a really packed session for you today, so yeah, I hope you enjoy. Right, let's get started. Okay, firstly, let me introduce you to the team that are going to be presenting today. So you have myself, my name's Charlene Cottle, and I look after our Retail and Transport business unit here at WM Reply. We've also joined today by Joe Matthews, who is one of our senior change and adoption consultants. And Joe has got a fantastic demo in store for you all today that is really going to show you and really bring it to life what a frontline worker experience can look like using the tools that we'll be talking through today. We've got James joining us today as well, and James is one of our principal consultants, and he's really going to build upon this story to show you how you can start to extend some of the different teams' capabilities to, again, enhance your frontline worker experience. And we're joined today as well by Microsoft's Nick Ledger, and Nick is going to join us today to talk about some of the other Viva modules that can also help to really, I was going to say amplify is one of the modules, but that will really bring to life that frontline worker experience, and he'll be talking about Glint, Pulse and Viva Amplify too. But before we really jump into the session, I wanted to just contextualize things a little bit. So we're talking about frontline workers, and I'll go into the reasons why in a second, but you know, who are our frontline workers? And then I'll kind of talk you through why we wanted to have this webinar series this year. And our frontline workers are those people that, you know, they work across different devices. They're always mobile. They work in retail, in healthcare, in manufacturing, and their day-to-day is very different to those of us who, you know, are classed as information or knowledge workers who, you know, sit behind maybe a desk and have the benefit of having, you know, our device with us all of the time. And that kind of brings me on to the reasons why we wanted to develop or deliver this webinar series this year. So if you are new to WM Reply and what we do, we are a modern work consultancy and we specialise in Microsoft 365. And we've been doing that for years and years since we were born, if you like. And kind of, you know, what we've done forever and always has been focused on you know, the creating beautiful intranet, the working with our clients to automate some of the clunky processes that they might have. We've been able to help connect employees to the tools that they use every day. And we've got a really great change and adoption team here who have been helping to deliver all of those technical solutions by working with end users to help them see what the benefit is for them. But, you know, for a good chunk of time, we were doing that with our clients when they have people in those information worker type roles. And what we started to do then, you know, a few years back, I guess you would say, is we started to look at what's the benefits for frontline workers. We've got this great modern work experience now that's set up and ready to go for information workers, but actually frontline workers have needs too. And so we started to look at things like, you know, what would the return on investment be if we were helping to enable frontline workers using these tools? And we worked with lots of our clients doing some envisioning. So, you know, understanding the pain points, understanding how we can start to remove those pain points and looking at what that might take. And then since then, you know, as WM, we've been on this big journey and we've done lots of things in this space. So, you know, we have built some custom solutions for our clients. We have been using, you know, the technology, which has come such a huge way to help frontline workers to work more efficiently, to access the tools and systems that they need to use every single day. And where we are now, and the reason why we're delivering this webinar series this year, is because we kind of want to share our stories and our expertise with our current clients. We know that we've got lots of our clients that we work with all the time on today's webinar, and hopefully some new clients as well who can start to understand and see some of the benefits that we can hopefully deliver in this space. And so what have we done so far? So if you're not aware of the webinar series that we're running this year, this just gives you a little bit of an overview. So we've already delivered one session, which one of my colleagues is going to drop a link to the recording into the chat as well. So if you haven't seen that and you haven't been able to join, please feel free to watch that back. the core elements of that webinar were really focused on what are the actual reasons that we should invest in a modern work solution for our frontline workers. What does the return on investment look like? What are the benefits? What are the expectations if we're going to go on this journey? Today's webinar is all about the practical solutions. So like I said, we're going to be really demo based today. Joe, I'm really looking forward to it because Joe's got a fantastic demo built for you. And then we've got some also really cool bits that Nick and James will be taking you through as well. Following on from today, later in August, we'll have a third webinar, which is really going to be focused on adoption and the reasons why you should think about how important adoption is before you create your solution, and making sure that that's a key part of your overall kind of program. We're in there, we'll have some tips on why it matters, how you can achieve it, etc. And then at the end of the series, we'll be doing a little bit of a frontline year in review, and we'll have some top tips. We'll maybe be able to share some success stories here as well. So this is kind of what it looks like, and yeah, hopefully you join us along the way. So that kind of talks you through reasons why we're doing this. There's lots that we'll be presenting today. So what I'd say is please just feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat. We will maybe reply to them as we go, or we'll come back to them at the end, or maybe we'll just pick a few to do with both. But yes, that's kind of the crux of the webinar today, and how we'll take shape. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my colleague, Joe Matthews, who is going to talk you through the day in the life of a grocery employee. Joe, over to you.
Thank you, Charlene. Yeah, great to speak to everyone today. I'm going to be talking a lot about Microsoft Viva, as Charlene implied, but first and foremost, what is Viva? People might have heard this word flying around and kind of go, oh yeah, okay, I've heard bits and pieces, I've heard it's great, but what does it really do? So Microsoft Viva is effectively an employee experience platform. It's all about helping us connect with our employees wherever they're working from. And originally what we would have had is a platform over here for someone to go and do their learning and development, and another platform that you might send them off to kind of understand what's going on in the organisation and gather all their knowledge together, and then we'll be communicating somewhere else. And Microsoft Viva says, enough of that. Why are we paying for all these different platforms and all these different subscriptions? Why are we sending people off to different places to click into all these different locations every day? And they've got to remember which one to go from where. Let's bring it all into one place, into one suite. And even better, let's make all of that already available within Microsoft Teams itself. So people are already working in Teams, they're already chatting in Teams, they're already sharing files in Teams. Let's bring everything else in there as well. So if we go on to the next slide, please, Charlene. Effectively, what we have is a whole suite of different modules. So you can see Viva Connections across the top there, which is going to help us pull all of those different modules in together. And then we've got lots of different individual modules here which come together to build up this entire suite to have that full employee experience platform all available within Teams. Now, I would love to sit and talk to you about each of these individual modules and tell you what each of them does and go into their full capabilities. But we've only got an hour on this webinar. So what I'm going to do instead is take a bit of a holistic approach. I'm going to say, okay, let's take a frontline worker point of view here. How can a frontline worker use this Viva suite, use some of these modules to help them throughout their day? And just before I go on to the next slide, some of the great things about these as well is some of these modules, including Viva Connections itself at the top there. We've got Viva Engage, or Yammer, as you may have known it previously. We've got elements of Viva Insights and Viva Learning are already available within your current Microsoft license. It doesn't need an additional investment. Admittedly, that isn't the case for all of these modules. There are some extra add-ons and things, but this is all about at the moment doing more with less, doing more with what we've already got available and bringing everything into one space so that we can stop spending and sending people off to different places. So what you're going to see in this demo, just on the next slide, please, Charlene, is a few of those modules and how they can pull together for a frontline worker. So you'll see me regularly going to Viva Connections, but actually I'm going to rename it on behalf of the company that we're going to be demoing for today. I'll explain that shortly. I'm going to then show you bits where I dip off to Viva Engage, which is where we're going to come together and connect as an organisation. I'm going to show you bits of Viva Topics, which is how we help people manage information and get all of our data about a particular subject in one quick and easy hashtag. I'm going to talk about Viva Learning and how we can take people on a learning journey and pull that into teams as well. And you'll see some familiar little bits and pieces in there too, such as obviously Microsoft Teams itself. We're going to show you Microsoft Forms and how that could pull in for a frontline worker, and Task by Planet and To Do as well. So hopefully this is going to show you how all of these things start to come together. So I'm just going to get my demo available. Bear with me for 2 moments because it's frozen where I've been talking and not using my phone. So what I'm going to do today is, if we go on to the next slide, here we go. I am no longer Joanna Matthews from WM Reply. No. Today I am Lucy Wilson. And Lucy is a frontline worker. She's a retail assistant who works on the shop floor. She's fairly new and she works for a company called Greens. And Greens are basically a high street food retailer out on the streets, and they take real pride in their fruit and veg. They're really eco-friendly. So we're going to see how Lucy could use Viva and Microsoft Teams throughout her day at work. So what you're going to see is I'm actually on my phone. This is my personal mobile right now. I'm logged into Teams. I'm going to share my screen with you as to what I'm doing on my phone as we go along. So if you see me looking down, it's not notes. I'm doing it on here. So I'm going to steal the screen from you, Charlene, and share my screen over. Just a second, I've clicked the wrong thing as I've gone. Hopefully. Can you let me know, Charlene, if you can now see my mobile screen?
Got it, thanks, Jo.
Fabulous. So what we can see here is I've come straight in, started my day, and of course the first place we're going to check is Microsoft Teams. It's going to be my landing place to find all the information I need for my day at work. And as we can see here, I'm part of my Greens team in Victoria. My local store is based in Victoria, that's where I'm working. And I can see all my different channels here that I can go in and access. But what we've got is along the bottom panel there, we can see a little tab called Go Green, and that is actually Viva Connections. That is our intranet that everyone could go and access online if they wanted to, but I'm going to access it via the mobile app here and bring into a personal landing experience for me on our intranet, but on my mobile phone. So what this is going to do is with 3 different tabs across the top here, we've got our dashboard, which is that helps us bring all of our different tools and apps into the same place. And it's going to give me tailored apps that I need to do my job every day. And it's also giving me tailored information pulling through straight away, such as what I need to work on today, what payslip's ready for me, etc. Shortly, we'll go to that feed across the top there as well, and the resources tab there would be kind of like your navigation panel you might have across the top to go and find other information. Well, we're going to start on the dashboard here today. So what's the first thing I need to do when I start my shift? I come into Teams, open up my phone, and I'm going to clock into my shift there so I can see that my shift started this morning. Let's pretend it's 9:30 a.m. and I'm going to clock in straight away there by clicking in to say that yes, I'm ready to start my shift at Greens Victoria. And now I'm clocked in. So I can come straight out of shifts, and there we can see it's now saying I've clocked in, and it gives me the option to clock to take a break instead. I've not even left Teams. First task of the day is done. Next up, I'm ready to start work. Let's think about what I need to do to go and focus on this morning and get my tasks done. So here we can see I've got one task that's due today, and I've been assigned with the task to restock the aisles. So I'm going to open that up, and it's going to open up Task by Planner for me here. And as I can see, my priority to get done today is to restock those aisles. So I can click up and get some more information about what's in that task that's been assigned to me. I can see it's got my name against it. It is due today. And down here, I've got a little checklist. So the first thing I need to do is go and stock the fruit and veg aisle. So I can get on there and tick that off when it's done. I can now mark that this task is in progress. So it's showing my manager that I'm getting on with it. I'm getting things done. Next up, I'm going to go and stock the cereals aisle, and I can make sure that we've got that stocked there. And tick that off. and I'm working through my morning, getting my jobs done, and I can tick these off as I go so people can see the progress I'm making. Now, as I'm stocking the chocolate and biscuits aisle, I might realise that actually we are a bit low on stock of our Frère chocolate. It's been very popular the past week. I don't know, post-Easter sales or something. So what I'm going to do is make sure I leave a little comment here as well to make sure that people know that we're out of stock of that item. So I'm going to come down to the comments. Of course, it takes a little bit longer than it normally does because I'm doing a live demo, but usually this would pop up really quickly and I can type in to leave a comment on with that task to say that I have low stock. I'm just going to try that once more. It is being slow today. I think it's because it knows I'm under pressure right now. Normally that would come up fine. So we can leave our comment there, assign to that task so someone can see what I'm getting on with. So my manager doesn't need to keep coming to the shop floor to check on me. They can just see my progress as I work along. Now, I might think, okay, we're short on this chocolate. I wonder when our next delivery is coming so I can make sure I can get that stocked up. So what I'm going to do is go back to Go Green, our intranet, to our dashboard page. And here I've got a little adaptive card set up that's been tailored for me to show me when our next delivery is due. So I can see here that it says my next delivery is due in 6 hours. That's when I've got a delivery coming in, and I can even click into that to see the progress it's making along the way as well. I can see it's come from Stockport and that it should be with me by 1:30 p.m. So I can say, right, okay, at that point, that's when I'll go and finish stocking up that chocolate aisle. Okay, so I've been working through my day. Now, as I've been checking the aisles, I have noticed that actually at the entrance to our store, there's a bit of a dodgy tile on the floor. I think it might be a bit of a health and safety hazard to our customers visiting today. So I want to make sure that I log that and someone can come and get that fixed for me. So I've taken a photo of it, taken a photo of this funny little tile on the floor. And I actually asked my team the other day to remind me where it is that I log faults. So I'm going to pop over to Teams. And we've got a channel set up for feedback and support, which is where we all ask each other questions, ask each other for reminders. And just down here, you can see that I'd asked the rest of my team to remind me where the form is to send this off. Could even have this set up as an adaptive card on Connections potentially, but they've sent me a link off here. So I'm going to click into that link and open up Microsoft Forms, as we can see here. And it says store faults form, and you can log any breaks, damages to get someone to come and fix it. So I'm going to say my name is Lucy Wilson. I work at Greens in Victoria, and I've got an option here. Does one fit for me? Yes, damage to floor. There we go. So I can log that as an option already there. Could put in a bit more detail on the other option if necessary. And I'm going to say damage to tile at shop entrance. Please fix ASAP as it's a potential trip hazard. And then I can go to upload a file. I'm going to go to my photo library coming straight from my phone. Here you can see some great pictures of my dog I took last night, but also we can see that dodgy tile that I want to log there for someone to come and fix. So we've got that file uploaded, and I can submit that form to make sure someone receives that and can come and get it fixed. From this, they'll also get my email address. They'll know how to contact me on Teams, so they can keep me in the loop with progress there as well. Okay, let's go back to Teams. I've been working hard. I've been stocking my shelves all morning, so I think it's time for a lunch break. But over lunch, I do like to check out what's been happening across the organisation. So over my lunch break, I'm going to head over to Viva Engage. Now, for anyone who's used Yammer previously, it has now been renamed Viva Engage. But effectively what this is going to do is give us a space to connect with either my direct colleagues who I work with every day, but it could also be that I want to connect with other people who work for Greens in different stores. I might want to see what they've been up to, get some light touch company news, perhaps get some news from leadership coming through there as well. But again, without leaving Teams, I can just go to my other apps down here. Oh, let's just go back to the Teams screen. Here we go. And I can go to Viva Engage just there. This is also renameable if you did want to call it something different, just as an FYI. So here I can start to see that Nestor's one of our leaders, and he's put some updates around our strategic objectives. I can check in on that. Oh, there's a bit of feedback here from about our new intranet, Go Green. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually. I love having my little dashboard cards, put all my information in together, made my job much easier. So I'm going to feed back. So yeah, I love that. And I can see how other people are voting as well. And I can scroll down and see that someone else here has got praise because they're doing really well fundraising for the business. So I'm going to reply to that, send them a celebration. And here I can just start to see what's going on. And of course, I'm a star employee. I've got my shout out here as well for doing a great job and being a great new joiner. Now, one of my favourite communities, and I can see all my different communities up at the top here, is Greens Displays. And it sounds silly, but we love it at Greens. We love to share what each other have been working on with our shop displays. So what we do in here, as you can see, is people are asked to come in and post their latest displays so we can inspire each other to make our shop look really visually appealing, so we can show off our latest eco-friendly designs. And we can see Alex down here just the other week posted his designs. Whoever needs that many oranges, I don't know. I think my display is much better. So I'm going to post it in here and get some feedback and show off my display. So I can come to share, this share box here, and click the three little dots to add an image. And again, I took a photo this morning. I was really proud of it. You may have even seen it before. Go back to my photo library, and here is my latest display. I think it's super eco-friendly, looks really fresh. So I'm going to say, check out my new display. Eco-friendly to the max. And I'm going to post that straight into our Greens Displays community. So here we can see that's now been posted, and that will come through to the feed of other people that are in this Greens Displays community. They can like that, they can reply to it, we can have a bit of an internal competition as to whose is the best and start to share our ideas there. Now, meeting my lunch, I'm also going to check out what's going on with the company in terms of wider company news. And to do that, I'm going to go back to that Viva Connections or Go Green app that we looked at before. So I'm going to come down here. But this time I'm going to go to the feed tab at the top, and this is where it's going to feed me lots of information coming in from the company. So straight away at the top here, I can see there's a news story that's been boosted for me. And what this happens here is Viva Connections allows the audience targeting to happen in the background. So I can see that this news story has been boosted to me because they think it's particularly relevant to me and my role and my day. And here we can see that my local stores raised £750 for a local football club. I can click into that, and again, without leaving the app, I can have a scroll through this and see that we've raised this money to buy some new football boots and shin pads for our local club. I can click down there and get some links off to get more involved in other places as well, and I can start to read through that story. Similarly, as I scroll through here, there's another story that's been boosted to me, which is all about our latest sales. Trying to be a bit punny with this one, not sure we pulled it off, but something around BlackBerry outselling Apple for the first time in 10 years and how this could be a story that comes through to me because obviously I'm selling fruit and veg every day. This is a really relevant news story to me and my role, and I can like that. I might think, oh, I haven't quite got time to read through this one now, so I'm going to bookmark it and come back to it later. And as I scroll through, I can then see other bits and pieces from the business. So there's another news story there, and it starts to pull things from Viva Engage through as well, through that Yammer channel as well there. So we can see I replied to this already earlier. That was that poll that I replied to. I've got some more news stories, and I might have some more Viva Engage content coming through here. But again, it's all driven by AI technology. It's thinking, okay, what has Lucy Wilson been looking at recently on Viva Engage? Who's she been connecting with? Let's make sure it's pulling through things that are really relevant to her and her day that will interest her. Okay, I've eaten my lunch. I'm done. I'm ready to crack on. And actually, I've been told that I can spend some time doing some training this afternoon. I'm new to the role and I need to catch up on my customer service skills. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. I'm still in the Teams environment. I'm still in Viva Connections here. I've called it Go Green. And as I scroll down a little bit, I can see that Viva Learning is telling me that I've got one course that's been recommended to me here. So I can click in to view that course. And there we have it, customer service in the field. Spot on, that's what I need. So I'm going to go through to that course and it's going to open that up for me here. And it gives me some information about that course. So it's a 30-minute long course. Great, I can get that done and then crack on with my delivery that's arriving shortly. It's going to tell me what that course is. And I can also, because it's being tracked, someone's recommended this to me, I can mark to say that it's in progress at the moment. I can then mark when it's completed. And yeah, I'm happy for them to let them know that. So no one has to chase me. They're able to see that I've done that recommended training course for myself. Very similarly to before, I could bookmark that if I wanted to and come back to it later. I can give it a rating as well so that other people see it. I could look at this and think, yeah, loved that, really interesting. Let's give this one 5 stars so other people can see this is a highly rated course. I can see familiar courses that are pulling through down here, things that are similar to what this is about, so I can carry on growing my learning. It might help me grow my personal development. It could be my career progression, lots of different training pulling through here. And what's nice with Viva Learning is that could come through from some free courses that are already available, or it could come through from another learning management system that you've already got set up in place, and we can integrate that. So it's just pulling those learnings you've already got potentially, but again, into teams, into the same environment here. I could also potentially copy a link and share it off to a colleague perhaps. I've got another new joiner who started and I might say, oh, I loved this course. You should come and do it too. And they can come along and come on that learning journey. Done my training, I've had my delivery received. It's time for me to start clearing up the day, but I'm a little bit nervous because today's the first time I've been left in the store on my own and it's my job to lock up. But thankfully, I did get a message through over in Teams chat from this little account here saying, hi Lucy, at the end of your shift, you'll be the only person working, so make sure you follow the guidance to our lone worker policy. Now, this is where Viva Topics is pulling through. You see, we've got that link to the lone worker policy. That means it's recognised as a topic card. So what I can do is click into that, and it's going to open up the Viva Topic Centre for me here. And this is going to pull through all the relevant information to me as a lone worker. So I can see some highlights here, some points to consider. I can scroll down and know that Deborah there's a really good person to contact if I've got some questions about this. And here we go, I've got the lone worker policy and I've got our locking up procedure tagged right there. I can click into that and go off and make sure I've read those, perhaps leave a comment saying, hi Deborah, just to confirm I've read those and all good with what's in there. I'll be locking up fine tonight. Conscious of time, so I'm going to keep pushing through. I think we've come to the end of the day. I've locked up, I'm confident and I've gone home. Fabulous, fabulous. I'm now at home. Now, generally speaking, when I'm at home, I wouldn't normally open up Teams. I like to have all my notifications silenced when I'm at home so that nothing work-related comes through to me. I'm in my time now. But I really have been trying to save up to book a holiday and I'm desperate to get this holiday booked in. So what I'm going to do is head back over to my dashboard. And in here, I've got a card that tells me all about my payslip. So I'm going to double check what I'm being paid. Open up my payslip, have a read through here, see what's come in, just double check what I'm being paid next month as well. I can skip through at the bottom or go back a previous month and think, yeah, I'm ready to book this holiday. Let's get it booked in. So I'm going to go online, do my booking, get it sent off. And back before we had this new intranet, apparently my colleagues have told me you had to sign a form and then take it in and put it in a box and then wait a few days for your manager to go and approve it. That sounds a bit tedious. Now we've got Viva Connections. I can just come in here, see already from this dashboard card that I've got 11 days remaining of my annual leave. And I can click in here and without leaving Teams, I can see a summary of all the leave I've taken so far, scroll down to this little pop-up, say that I want to take some paid time off, put my dates in. It's going to be, I don't know, middle of next month maybe. Put those dates in there. and I can send that off as an approval to my line manager, submit that, and without me even having to speak to them face to face, they can approve me to take that leave, hopefully not decline it, and I can get that holiday booked and go away and spend that nice paycheck. And that has been the day of a life as a frontline worker. And I hope that showed you how all of these different Viva elements have pulled into one place. I didn't need to think about what platform I was looking for. It was just all there for me. I didn't need to think about what system do I need to use for this. It's all pulling through on Viva Connections in the Teams app. So that's what we've got so far. Next, I'm going to hand over to Nick Ledger from Microsoft, and he's going to show you some brand new modules that are coming up in the Viva suite and how you can use those with your frontline workers too. Thanks, Nick.
Perfect. Thanks, Jo. That was great. I particularly like the greens displays community. I was thinking stuff like that gets colleagues really excited to really engage with others, maybe outside of their stores or outside of their areas. So yeah, absolutely love that.
Love a bit of competition, always.
Absolutely. So hi everyone, thanks for having me on the call today. I'm really excited to share a bit of further insight into some more of the Viva elements that will start helping you create an engaged and productive workforce, especially with that focus on frontline. So I thought what I would do is I'd just start with a bit of context into why we're focusing so heavily really on this area of engagement and productivity with Microsoft Viva. And well, our people science team have been doing a lot of research. They recently studied over 220 organizations with more than 3 million employees. And we looked at basically how does their employee engagement scores correlate with their financial performance. And what we found was really interesting. Companies with the most engaged employees perform twice as well financially as those with low engaged employees. And we've seen similar research from Glint and Gallup and other places that show the benefits of focusing on employee engagement. Highly engaged workforces have lower attrition, they have higher productivity, and ultimately higher customer satisfaction. So to put it simply, engagement is no longer a nice to have. And yet when we look at the people like our frontline workers, we see a bit of a difference in the sort of scores there. We see 62% of frontline workers, for example, say the leadership doesn't prioritise building workplace culture. And 51% of those in non-management positions say they don't feel valued. Already key parts of engagement. So these numbers make it clear that there is a big opportunity for organisations and leaders to focus more on frontline workers' engagement and productivity. And so what we're finding is that these two areas of engagement and productivity, they're not meant to be these two opposing forces in organisations, right? They're meant to be these things that work in balance. They're both really critical drivers to performance, and they mutually reinforce each other to improve that performance by achieving those business outcomes. Now, the way that we try to help in this space is obviously through Microsoft Viva. And so we announced Microsoft Viva 2 years ago because our focus was how do we help organizations create energized, empowered employees that can help give them a durable competitive advantage. And we've been on a really interesting journey with Viva during those 2 years. Right, Viva has continued to evolve and it has expanded greatly around really these 4 themes that you see on screen. It brings together the tools and applications the leaders need for goals, for employee communications, workplace analytics, employee feedback learning, all these different elements into a unified place. And as Jo covered, there are a whole variety of Viva modules, all targeting different experiences, but ultimately improving engagement and productivity for frontline workers. Whether it's connections, as you saw, to be the front door to the organisation to find that key information or applications, or engage to better connect to communities like Greens displays or other ones, or learning, right, to improve my ability to do my job and improve the way I engage with customers ultimately. There are so many parts here that can help organisations, and as Jo's already covered so many of these brilliantly, what I wanted to focus on today was some of the new modules that you might not have even heard of yet that are going to be coming this year that will help in this space even further. And those are Glint, Pulse and Amplify. So let's start with Glint. We're really excited about this. We have recently announced that Viva Glint is the latest addition to Microsoft Viva. We just announced it a couple of weeks ago. Glint essentially helps organizations with their employee listening strategies. So it delivers this immediate visibility into employee engagement through organization-wide surveys. And through that, we provide recommended actions to help people be engaged and more successful at work. And so coming in July, Viva Glint is actually going to be available. So it'll be available for users to start utilising, and it's going to be included for those who are already invested in the Viva suite. So just to give you a bit of context, if I'll just show you a bit of the announcement video, just to give you a bit more context on what that looks like. Charlie and Co, let me know if the sound is working okay on this.
Engaged employees have an outsized impact on business success. So how can you design an employee listening program that promotes a culture of feedback and action taking? Microsoft Viva Glint makes it possible. Using a model backed by people science, it captures the voice of the employee so you can understand and improve engagement. It brings employee feedback and action taking directly into Microsoft Viva, so leaders, managers, and employees get what they need to succeed. Intuitive, evidence-based surveys allow you to measure and track employee sentiment for org-wide engagement scores, onboarding and exit feedback, and more. Surveys are quick, easy to answer, and accessible to all employees across devices, regions, and abilities. Viva Glint survey results are available right after surveys close, not weeks or months later. Interactive and customizable dashboards help you understand strengths, risks, and trends, and compare them to external benchmarks. AI provides actionable insights based off real-time analysis of thousands of comments. And by combining Viva Glint sentiment with Microsoft Viva Insights behavioral data, you can now get a holistic view of the employee experience. Understand how people feel and how they work to drive meaningful change. Action taking is core to Viva Glint. Recommend key insights to the right people and provide personalized action plans to improve team performance and track progress. Leaders and managers can now lead guided discussions with team conversations, better identify focus areas, and use integrated recommendations that harness the power of Viva. Accelerate your ability to understand, engage, and develop your people with Viva Glint. Learn more at aka.ms/VivaGlint.
So really exciting, and that culture of feedback is something that we're seeing as such an important factor to employee experience, to employee engagement, but ultimately as well to business impact. So just briefly looking at some of the parts mentioned in that video then, Glint enables you to do these organization-wide engagement programs. So the employee voice surveys that you might run annually or biannually, but it's built off the latest best practice in people science. So giving you questions that aren't necessarily leading, giving questions that you can then benchmark across other organizations and sectors. It helps you get that immediate visibility into the employee experience, so you can continuously measure employee sentiment in real time and get the analytics back to understand the strengths, the risks, benchmarks, and comments in those different dashboards. It helps you route the feedback to the right leaders and stakeholders and make sure it provides them with actionable insights and recommendations to make their lives easier. And then ultimately, it helps you measure the business impact to truly understand actually how is your employee engagement survey impacting your business and priorities. So really exciting space. And if you think about the way that this normally happens, right, we take surveys and reports through Glint throughout the employee lifecycle. So from the moment they join the business to determine how their onboarding is, to the moment they leave to get the exit feedback and everywhere in between, essentially giving you a ton of data to really understand what's happening in the business and how can we continuously improve operations and the way we're doing things. And the way that this is kind of geared up for frontline workers is that there's a whole variety of functionality that leverages, basically what is important to those colleagues that maybe aren't sat in front of a computer the whole time. So for example, shorter surveys, right? So for time poor resources, making it really simple and quick to get those feedback results. Giving direct managers, right, more resources to help them act on that data when they need it, rather than having to go somewhere for it. And of course, providing those deeper analytics more directly across the leadership and the HR teams that might need that as well. And so that's Viva Glint, and that's going to be coming in July. Now moving on to the next one, to complement those biannual or quarterly engagement surveys, we've also designed and built a new pulsing capability for managers and leaders. So Viva Pulse, that's going to allow managers and teams and team leads, to easily request regular confidential feedback so they can understand their team needs in the moment and take action. And that confidentiality piece is really key, and that's the exact same thing for Glint as well. So with Pulse and Glint, we've built that to make sure that people's survey results are anonymous, right? Because as soon as I feel like my survey results aren't, I'm not going to give my open, honest opinion. So be as assured as you can that we're building this with that anonymous focus in mind. Now, the way the Pulse surveys surface is directly in Teams, so employees can give feedback right in the flow of the work they're doing. Managers can view their team trends and patterns over time, so they can see suggestions, recommended actions, relevant learning courses, but most importantly, they can bring back the employee trends and the results, de-identified, of course, directly back into the team conversation to help share how they're hearing, how they're responding, and how colleagues feel heard. Now, let's have a quick look at what that functionality starts to look like.
With new feedback capabilities in Microsoft Viva, managers and team leads can request quick and confidential input from their teams when they need it to help surface issues earlier than traditional engagement cycles. Managers can choose from a range of research-backed templates, and they can also browse from a catalog of questions that are organized by key themes that are top of mind, such as well-being. Here you can easily customize and add questions to your Pulse survey. Once you've added the target recipients, your Pulse is ready to go. All this in just a couple of minutes. Team members can then give confidential feedback in the flow of their work. They can select which actions would be most helpful, making the process quick and results-oriented. Once complete, Viva Pulse compiles a detailed and anonymous report and automatically sorts the questions by average scores. By clicking into a specific question, you can see how favorably team members are feeling, as well as trends over time, saving requesters time and effort. Managers can also see suggestions from the team, sorted by popularity. It provides actionable recommendations to help managers with next steps, and also presents links to learning resources for greater awareness on the topic. These Pulse reports are de-identified to protect individual privacy, and can easily be shared with the team to spark important conversations so that everyone can grow together.
Perfect. So that's Viva Pulse, right? Helping managers and team leads ask the right questions, better understand their team's needs, and ultimately help improve their team's experience, rather than just a focus on understanding strengths and weaknesses, for example. It's really about understanding what are their needs. And ultimately what that does... Oh, yeah,
sorry,
yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, we've had a couple of questions in. I wondered if it was worth you answering those while we're on the subject of Glint and Pulse. So I don't know if you can see them. The first one from Deborah is asking how Glint, and I suppose Pulse to an extent as well, maintains anonymity. So how's feedback managed for very small teams where it could be easy to identify who submitted the comments?
Yeah, great question. And as I mentioned before, that is such a key focus for us with this. And so there are limitations on the number of people that would need to submit for those surveys for the results to come through. So I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I definitely find out and drop in the chat shortly. But yeah, there are limitations. So people can be assured, and when they are submitting this to feedback, it does say, things like, until another 5 people submit, your survey results won't be provided to ensure it's anonymous. So yeah, that is an absolute focus.
Would it pull the results kind of up a level almost, so you get them as part of a wider group, so it's harder to kind of root down to who it might have been?
Yeah, exactly. That's a big sort of focus, right? Like, how can we just make sure that when you are doing the analysis, it's over larger groups rather than necessarily small numbers that might then be identifiable.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks for your question, Deborah. And we've got one other question around Glint and Pulse as well, and whether they'll be included in current tenancies or will they come at additional cost?
Yes, so I think as you mentioned before, right, there's a load of stuff that's included in Microsoft Viva already in your existing Microsoft environments, right? Like things like Viva Connections and a lot of the Viva engagement capabilities. And Glint and Pulse, and I'm going to show you shortly Amplify, they are part of the premium capabilities. So for those of you on the call that your organizations have already purchased the kind of premium Viva suite, you'll have access to all this stuff as soon as it launches. And for those of you who haven't, speak with your Microsoft contacts and they can start liaising with your IT teams to see how they can maybe get you access to some of this stuff.
Thank you. I'll stop interrupting you now.
No, all good. Perfect. So just to wrap up the last couple of pieces on Pulse, right? What's really important about this is the difference between the employee engagement surveys, right? We run them once a year or biannually. This is really about giving managers the ability to quickly do pulse checks with their team, Right, if I'm a store manager and I go into store and I just notice that the team aren't energized, or there's a lot of complaints, or whatever it might be, being able to run a quick survey with that team and really understand very, very quickly what is top of mind for them, and then also get ideas on how I can action it. Right, we don't have to wait 6 months for the next employee engagement survey to find that out. So it's really about empowering managers, creating a culture of feedback, so that we can really understand the needs of those employees. And of course, this is all focused on frontline workers as well. And so any device that they're using, there's the mobile experience. And so for them, it'll just feel really natural that they can just pick it up and submit their responses within a few clicks. And that is Viva Pulse, and that's going to be coming later this year. I can see there's one question from Katie as well in the Q&A. So how is audience selection managed in Pulse? Is it specific to the manager or based on Microsoft 365 groups or something else? Yeah, great question, Katie. So it is based on Microsoft 365 groups, but you can also then do individuals as well. So you can target them to a team, for example, that you might have set up for the store, or a specific kind of distribution group that you've got set up somewhere. So you can kind of control which audience it gets sent to. And again, that just makes sure that the right people see the survey. Perfect. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to is Viva Amplify. And so Viva Amplify is a new internal communications hub coming later this year. And this is going to help leaders and communicators essentially send out communications a lot easier than they can do currently. So they can send content out to multiple channels across Microsoft 365. So think email and SharePoint, Teams, Viva Engage, being able to do that all in one central place. But at the same time, getting rating guidance and getting more metrics to understand how we can improve our campaigns, understanding what the content will look like, in different drafts. What would it look like in Viva Engage? What would it look like by email, by SharePoint news item, and all that, all that key things that people need to see when they're trying to draft the most impactful communication they can. And so again, let's have a quick look at what that capability starts to look like.
With new communication capabilities in Microsoft Viva, you can use your message to drive business outcomes as well as plan, create, manage, and publish all your workplace communications from one app. Reach all your employees on any device, wherever they work. Whether you're planning a large campaign or sending out weekly updates, jumpstart your process using Viva's writing guidance, which makes it easier to create messages that resonate with your audience and in the right channel. Save time rewriting the same message for a different channel or audience in just a few clicks. Viva Amplify gives you a single place to share drafts and track approvals, and it also helps you visualize and optimize your messages by previewing your final output for each channel. In addition to messages, you can also define campaign objectives to help you set clear messaging goals within multiple channels, whether that's Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, Yammer, and more. All this before you hit send. Then use Viva's Campaign Hub to understand and track the impact your messages will make. Know what's working and how to improve your messages for next time.
So, as I mentioned before, Viva Amplify really focuses on helping those leaders, those communicators, really elevate their messages and reach the right employees in the right channels. And so whether you're an individual kind of project manager or IT lead or team of comms professionals, essentially we're trying to make sure that we can spend less time recreating messages, more time empowering others to scale, to reuse what's been created. And obviously with all the benefits there of campaign creation, management, publishing, approvals, reporting, all in one place. And just to sort of double click on that area of reporting, just to kind of show you a little bit more around that. Really what we want to try and do is make sure that people can understand actually what audiences are engaging with this content and what's the sentiment around it. And so there's going to be a whole load of new analytics capabilities built into Viva Amplify to help you really understand actually where are people engaging, where's the best place where I can have the greatest impact to my communication. And that starts to really complement a lot of the new capabilities coming to tools like Engage or boosting capabilities like you saw earlier, and to make sure that communications are engaged with in the right way. And so that is everything I'm going to show today. That is Glint, Pulse and Amplify. Glint to help with those organization-wide surveys, Pulse to help managers check in with their teams, and Amplify to help you manage your organization's communication strategy. So I hope that's been useful. If you do have any questions, obviously we'll try any more questions. We'll try and grab some time at the end, but also feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you've got anything really specific you want to ask. But I think I'll pass back to yourself, Joe or Charlene.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thanks so much. Fabulous. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Right. I'm going to very quickly introduce James. And I guess just to add a little bit of context, so we've talked loads about all of these different Viva modules and how they can really benefit the frontline worker experience. What James wanted to talk about today was some of the cool things that we're doing, again, to enhance that frontline worker experience, but really building on how we can take something that's readily available out of the box in Teams and to extend its capability, because we know lots of clients might come to us and say, well, it gets us 80% of the way there. Let's get you the next 20%. So James, over to you.
Thank you, Charlene. Yeah, so just to extend on what Charlene just mentioned, just going to spend a few minutes now talking through 4 specific solutions we worked on at WM, 2 of which are custom team solutions that we've developed, and 2 are Microsoft extendable Teams apps. So these are sort of the sample apps that we often find, as with the sample apps, they don't often meet the full requirements that the clients are after or need. But obviously, because of the sample apps, with the Power Platform behind them, we can fully extend those apps to fully meet those requirements. So I'll start first with something that we are very, very excited about at WM, and that is the Broker Bot. So this is a new product that we're launching at WM very soon. And did I mention that we're really excited about it? So how did this come about, and what is it? So we engaged with a client, well-known client in the aviation industry, regarding enhancing collaboration for their respective flight teams and ground crews through the use of Microsoft Teams. So we developed the Broker Bot that allows for cross-channel communication through a single adaptive card. So those respective teams in that same tenant can communicate effectively. We then looked at, well, wait a minute, can we extend this even further? And obviously with engagement with those aviation industry clients as well, we thought, well, wait a minute, we can actually get this to message across tenant. So that's how we sort of further developed the Broker Bot. And so now essentially partners who are on different tenants can essentially regularly communicate, even though they're on different Microsoft 365 tenants. So what does obviously this do? Obviously there's the benefits. Obviously enables this smooth communication between their respective teams through those team channels without actually having to join. So whether it's channels on the same tenant, or obviously if you're talking about channels in different tenants, then obviously there isn't the need to obviously create a myriad of guest accounts and invite them into respective teams that perhaps they only need access to for a short period of time. You can essentially use the Broker Bot to engage and get this communication between those respective teams. You can obviously communicate across tenant with all the respective partners, manage messaging obviously through this single adaptive card. And I've just got obviously a couple of screenshots on this slide just to show you essentially how it will look. So that top right screenshot there, essentially that is essentially the sender creating the message. So obviously create that message, and then the connect to area is specifying those respective channels that you want to send that message to through the adaptive card. And obviously there we're referencing the relevant different tenants. Obviously there we've got MSFT and WM reply, and that will then generate that message and send that message to those respective channels across those tenants. And as you can see in that second screenshot below, that is sort of the sender's view. Obviously as they've sent that message, but the respective partners can obviously then respond into that and obviously get that effective communication. So one sort of scenario where we really see this partner or cross-tenant communication being really effective is obviously sticking with that, the sort of aviation industry, is where we might have a passenger that books a flight with the airline and they request a special service such as wheelchair assistance and maybe a specific meal due to specific dietary requirements. The airline obviously then, using the bot, can send this special service request notification to the airport, to passenger assistance services and the relevant catering services, so they can all communicate effectively and get everything ready in time. And obviously that will obviously work with the pre-arrival coordination, and obviously then at the point of passenger check-in and assistance, so that they're all aligned and everything's in place. Other examples, obviously, where this could really be useful, obviously things like shopping malls or shopping centres, where the multiple stores within that mall that obviously you might need to communicate. For example, maybe perhaps for security concerns or issues, where they need to communicate effectively with those respective partners in that store, or the warehouse scenario as well, where obviously again multiple tenants or even just on the same tenant and multiple channels being able to effectively communicate. So that is the broker bot. Obviously, very new product for us, but if you are obviously interested in this or interested in the demo, obviously would be get in touch with us. We'll be happy to talk you through that and give you a proper full demo to go through it. If we can go to the next slide, please, Charlene. Thank you. So the next solution I want to talk through is the Employees Ideas app. So some of you may be familiar with this app. It is one of the Microsoft sample apps that's essentially extendable. And as mentioned previously, what we find with this app and obviously some of the other sample apps as well is that they don't always meet those full requirements from the client. And obviously there's a lot of competitors out there as well, particularly in this ideation space. But obviously with this, it is extendable. So we find that quite often we can meet those client needs through extending the app because it's built off Power Platform. And obviously with this as well, obviously with Frontline Workers, it's particularly useful for them because they are at the forefront obviously of customer feedback, regularly engaging with those customers. And obviously with the process as well, and it really fosters that culture of ideation. So what are some of the key benefits here? Obviously, where it's customizable, easy to create and manage new campaigns, and easy to collate those ideas. In a particular scenario that we had with a client, they were really keen on extending the idea management side of it. So obviously in the base app, there's no real sort of tracking or status updates available through the app, and obviously they essentially wanted the panel review process and this full life cycle management. So essentially not just getting the ideas but actually taking them further and showing them how that can happen. Notifications as well off the back of it, which obviously we extended through Power Automate. So all these things that essentially they wanted to extend it, we were able to do. And then as well around reporting and analysis, we created Power BI dashboards to actually fully show information on those campaigns and ideas, such as number of votes that somebody's giving to an idea or the amount of feedback and traction those ideas are getting, so they can fully see, well, wait a minute, what do we want to take further forward and push live and into the real world. So that's the Employee Ideas app. If you can go into the next screen, please, Charlene.
Thanks, James. If it's all right, we're just going to skip ahead to this one because we're running short on time.
No problem. So the final one then out of the three is the Store Dynamic Membership. So this particular solution came about with a client where they had area managers, obviously in charge of specific areas where they'd have multiple stores. Now, obviously those stores had teams where they would actively communicate and collaborate within that store. We came up with the idea of the Store Dynamic Membership, which allowed those area managers to easily and effectively go in, essentially select a relevant store that they were going to be at in advance, select the relevant date range that would be there, and essentially then confirm that store. They can obviously add multiple stores here if they wanted to, but what in effect that would do is when that date would hit with regards to that store, they would be automatically added to that store team. So they can essentially, as soon as they get there, they can effectively collaborate and communicate with that team. And obviously then when they leave, they'll essentially be removed from that team and added to whatever team they might be at next or whatever store team they might be at next. So this was, a really sort of simple and reusable solution that we developed here. Essentially a Teams app, which is obviously available on mobile as well, so they can use it on the go. And it's really good for that sort of dynamic membership without having to, access your only designated team or have an overhead of the IT team, whoever it might be, adding you to respective teams or adding yourself to teams or removing yourself from teams over time. This app really sort of effectively allows you to properly do that. So that's the Store Dynamic Membership.
Fabulous.
Back to you,
Thanks,
Shirley.
James. Thanks so much for that. That was absolutely great. I'm going to really whip through this because I know that we've got people with a hard stop that will have to jump off. But very quickly, thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this webinar, you can take a quick grab of the QR code to join our next webinar on the 16th. And if you're interested, you know, we're doing lots in this space, and we'd be really grateful to get your feedback as well. Again, you can scan the QR code. We'll drop the link in the chat to the survey to just get your feedback. There's been a couple of questions around our kind of upcoming webinars. So we're thinking about maybe doing a webinar on wider extensibility elements of Teams. James has whittled through them, some nice examples there today. But if you are interested, please do just take a second, fill out the feedback form. We'd love to hear from you anyway, just to get feedback. But there's also an option on there that if enough people basically sign up to join a webinar, we'd be happy to put one on. And if you've got any further feedback, comments or questions, you can reach out to any of us via LinkedIn, via our WM reply email address as well. But thank you very much for joining us and look forward to having you on the next webinar too. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.